Well, hi everyone. We're going to be doing something a little bit different on this video. Me! So I hope you enjoy the sound of this. Don't know whether you will or won't, but here we go. In this video we're working on a land clearing and improving project. And me adding some commentary as the video progresses, but we're going to start off with trimming some of these trees here and getting them out of the way and getting on with the construction. We've already gotten the all clear from 811 dig test, so as soon as we get the trees out of the way, we'll get a new road built. Because we're selectively clearing some of the trees out of the way, the homeowner decided to give us a hand and trim the limbs off of the trees that he wanted to keep. That's always appreciated. It helps keep the extra branches from slapping against the machines, and also to make it a lot easier to identify which trees are good and which trees are bad that they wanted to keep in particular. In this part here, we've got an arrow pointing to the topsoil stockpile that I'm starting to make as we're cutting down the road surface and getting the old roots and stumps and things like that sifted out of the topsoil as we're cutting it back for the new drive entrance on the property. As the video progresses, you'll see a lot of the extra topsoil being pushed to the side and stockpiled for use later. Down in this part, we're using the new Yanmar excavator to begin doing the same thing on sorting and stockpiling topsoil. This part of the property is the future site of a stock tank, so we're able to utilize it for our brush fires and burning. And once the topsoil has been stripped back to expose the good clay subsoil underneath, we'll be excavating that out and using it along the new roadway to help build it up and change the watershed in order to have a more solid foundation for the drive area. In this clip, we've stockpiled a lot of the topsoil along the side of the roadway that's on the downhill side, and once the road is built up, I'll be able to utilize that to even out the edge and fill in the low spots and work around the trees in order to help the watershed off the roadway and establish a nice slope that makes it easier to maintain, helps with the integrity of the edge of the roadway, and also the property owner will be able to mow along his driveway a lot easier. Here we've got an arrow pointing at our topsoil spoils from the borrow pit area, where we're going to be taking the extra clay out of the bottom of the future pond and adding it to the roadway. I was using my skid steer to separate the two brush piles in order to have another controlled burn, and I didn't want I didn't want one pile to be too big and possibly get out of control, so we split it up and compacted them down before setting fire to them and going back to doing our excavation and working on the roadway. because the site isn't very big, it didn't warrant bringing a bigger dump truck in and loading it up, driving it out, adding the clay material to the roadway, driving it back down to the borrow pit, so on and so forth. That would be a whole lot of extra expense when we already own a nice dump trailer from Diamond C, and it worked out better to use the truck and the trailer to move the approximately 100 yards of clay material from the back part of the property to the front part of the property to add into the roadway and build it up. In this shot, I'm just using the skid steer to level things out and compact it down with the weight of the machine. We had several brush piles that had to be attended to regularly, so it kept me on my toes. For anybody wondering, the little pink flags that we keep working around is a benchmark from a surveyor that came out and looked at the property in order to help establish the grade. So those little wooden stakes with the pink flags on them are very important, and that's why I keep trying to dodge them. I did pretty good for the most part, but I did end up breaking that stick a couple different times and having to reinstall it and add some more flags to it. But things happen, and thankfully nothing was damaged or moved or caused an issue for the house construction later on, because that benchmark is very important for all of the contractors that are going to be working on this piece of property. By driving the truck and trailer loaded back and forth across the drive area and moving over a little bit each time that I went forward and backward, it helped to really solidify and pack that clay down and strengthen the subsoil. That if you don't have that done correctly, then the road's just going to deteriorate much faster. And so that's a very important and crucial step, ground compaction, before bringing in road base, rock, gravel, anything like that. It is a really important part of the process, and the weight of the machines, the weight of the trucks, the weight of the loaded trailers, all of that really helps to solidify things. As you can tell, it's starting to get really tight, and we've got an arrow pointing here at the color difference between our clay where the road's going to be and our darker colored topsoil that has just been shaped for now. We tracked it in until it's time to excavate it out and get it lined up with the new water drainage that's going to run along the side of the road there to prevent everything that's coming down the hill from washing over the drive. And it makes a big difference when you've got your watershed set correctly and your subsoil is compacted, tight, and have all of these little details done before putting out road base. We took the extra time to do such between adding material, compacting, adding material, compacting, in order to increase the longevity or the lifespan of the driveway. there's going to be a lot of heavy construction traffic coming in and out as the house gets built and other developments to the land. So we need to make sure that this is done right from the start, and you know, it's worth the extra time to do such. Definitely doesn't help when we get 3 or 4 days of rain and kind of turns the whole site into a mess. But you know, as it dries out, we keep on plugging along. On this part, I wanted to be able to skim off the good topsoil and stockpile it before bringing the excavator up and digging out the ditch and creating that swell for the water to run into. If anybody's priced materials recently, it's all getting very expensive. So the more we can utilize of the natural resources already existing on the land, the less the customer has to pay to bring materials in, or the import cost and transportation costs, and all those things add up. So working with the land instead of against it definitely helps to save some money on materials cost and the overall length of time of the project and things like that. Now that the road surface is starting to get closer to the correct grade, I'm going in here and working around the trees and spreading some of that topsoil out, using my drag beam to even things out. Up there in that corner, we've got had an arrow pointing at our new culverts that are going to be going in, and that's you can look for that in part 2 of the video series. Not going to get to it in this one because it's already getting to be a little bit long on the video side of things, but the culverts that we promote, that we used on this job and many others, are HDPE culverts that are a double wall high density polyethylene, HDPE. They have the same strength rating as the traditional 16 gauge galvanized steel culverts that are approved for all roadway usage. However, they have a much longer lifespan. They are 100% smooth on the inside, so sediment doesn't build up in them. They're made out of virgin and recycled materials, so that helps to make them a little bit more environmentally friendly, as well as being much more cost effective and lighter weight, easier to install, moving the same amount of water, longer lifespan. There's many benefits to going with the newer materials, and as opposed to the old the old steel culverts that everybody's been accustomed to and grown up with and such. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time.